Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Tuesday. I hope you are teed up and ready for some pro wrestling punditry today. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, and here today, sitting in for EJ Cameron, who is once again off. He's booked. He's becoming famous right now. We are joined.
Cool.
Oh, EJ's hella like. I will talk more EJ in a second. But Christy Olson is in the house here today. You're going to get a double dose of Christy here today, and then again on Friday. Christy, welcome to the show.
Ooh. Hello, Nick. Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk about kind of some different things than we usually get to talk about on Friday this week. So, yay.
Yeah, we are going to have a, you know, it is. We're going to talk the draft here just a little bit. We got a lot of news in the past 24 hours. The chat room is open here. Dave in saying, no way. Christy on a Tuesday.
I know. I exist on other days of the week, you guys. I'm just as shocked as you are.
Yeah, saying, you know, this is the best day because we're going to get bonus Christy and the debut of Tony D'Angelo tonight on NXT. Oh, hey, right? He's a Chicagoan. Why does he talk like a New York gang? Like, hey, right?
Maybe that's just his vibe. I like it.
We have Antonio Garcia here, double dose of Christy. Adam Yarborough, how was the draft party, right? That's what you wanted to know before we got in the air here, Christy. The draft party was an absolute blast. You know, I was worried because we did not get approved to advertise the event until like last Thursday, right?
Okay.
And it didn't really start in earnest till Friday, right? And so it was a pretty tight turnaround to advertise. A lot of great names attached. I hope you guys went to one of the parties at the other cities that was hosting with Van Vliet and Sam Roberts and all that. And then as I've got this ball of anxiety about like, oh, you know, did I get the word out? Is this going to be a success? Facebook goes down yesterday, and my ability to promote on multiple social media platforms went up in smoke. So, and not the fun kind, right? And so then about an hour before Facebook comes back on, I start to head to the old replay Lincoln Park where the event was, and started a little slow, but Christy, you know what? By the end, we had a good crowd there. I mean, they gave me, I think it's in the other room. I think Liz maybe put it in her office. They sent me like a dozen children's WWE championships, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like the $30 one you get at the Walmart, right?
Yeah.
So I had those. I had drawstring bags. I had calendars, right, with all that beefcake each month, and then tons of beefcake. I said beefcake like 100 times last night. And they had little hand sanitizers that you could use with the WWE logo. Very of the times. That was good. So you know, we had about a dozen of these prize packs. They all got given away. We did a little trivia. It was very informal. Lots of people were drinking. And I think the coolest part about it was there were definitely people that came out for the party, but we had a lot of people that were just like, Replay Lincoln Park is a cool bar I enjoy going to, that showed up, and then they would get me greeting them saying, hey, are you a wrestling fan? Are you here? And they go, no, not wrestling. I go, well, we got free stuff over there, and we're all going to have a good time. And then they're like, well, free stuff. Oh, well, maybe my friend would like this or whatever. And
beefcake?
I love that beefcake. Yeah, loving that beefcake. And by the end, and like what I'm getting at is the most fulfilling part was converting a lot of people into wrestling fans last night, Christy. And we got a lot of good photos, a lot of good videos. My buddy Keith was assigned to me to help out with that event last night. He was very, very helpful. Thank you, Keith. And it was a blast, Christy. I mean, wrestling fans drinking, getting free stuff. It doesn't get any better, you know?
It absolutely does not. And what a great night, too, to bring everybody together and to have some new fans' eyes on the product, right? I always love to get people's reactions and opinions of people who aren't watching every week and be like, hey, what do you think of this guy up here right now? You know, it's hilarious every time. Try it.
Yeah. And it was great. And EJ did come out last night for the party, and we wound up kind of sitting like holding court, and people kind of come. I kept introducing EJ to people like he was a celebrity. I was like, this is EJ. He's on Second City ETC stage. He's a wrestling fan just like you. You know, so we had a good time.
EJ, he's just like you.
So by the way, we see a lot of people very excited that Christy is here today. Sliceberg Slim, Christy blessed us twice. Rob Humphrey, Christy's forcing EJ out, and then she'll move on to the rest of the week. before ditching Nick and taking over. It'll just be Christy.
I don't know if I want to do all that work, Nick.
Christy sitting here. Oh, I think Brandy Rhodes deserves that AEW women's title run. Oh, I don't know, Christy. I think that is maybe too much,
Road to the Top is on every poll.
I saw you wrote in Road to the Top for our mailbag question here today, so you brought it up. You're forcing this conversation today, Christy.
I had to take it there again, Nick, for our Tuesday friends.
Sure. We have 2 pro 4 games. Christy's going to take over Raj's job soon. And then lastly, I'll wrap up our little opening salvo here. X Pizza Wings. What beers you drinking last night, Hausman? Great question. I was only drinking 1 beer, though I had 4 of them. I was drinking Pseudo Sue. If you're ever in Chicago and you have the chance to try it, it is my favorite. Like, there's a lot of great collaborations in beer. Three Floyds works with War Pigs, great brewery. But Pseudo Sue is a combination of the Goliath Brewing Company and the Chicago Natural History Museum. And yeah, and it is in honor of Sue the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's the most complete T-Rex skeleton in the world. We have it here in Chicago. And in honor of this dinosaur that we have, they made a beer called Pseudo Sue. It's really, really good. And you can go to the museum. You can get some beer dedicated to the dinosaur and walk upstairs and look at the thing. And I've done that, and it's really enjoyable.
And I bet every time you pop open one of those bad boys at the bar, it just takes you right back to hanging out with Sue.
It does. It's like, it makes me feel both classy and smart at the same time to drink Pseudo Sue.
Yes, you're classing up your beer. I like it. I can appreciate that they gave you an open tab, Nick, and all you did was drink 4 beers. What about a round of shots for the house? What kind of a party was this?
I'm the house. Round of shots for me. Oh my God, to be on the floor. But I'm ching. I had to try to behave myself. I was still being paid to be there and host and all that, and so. I kept it together largely. I feel like I was behaving. I'm feeling fine today, so I know I didn't drink too much, right? But Pseudo Sue, right? And a shout out here, by the way, from Rob Humphreys. Three Floyds Gumball Head is amazing. It's true. It's all Three Floyds beers, very, very good. Okay, so that's all out of the way. Let's get to the show here. First of all, I want to say, if you're watching the show, you're supporting the show, we'll do this up top. I never push it. But we really could use the iTunes reviews right now, because there are a couple angry fans out there that went and said that I'm too political, and they spammed us with some negative ads trying to silence me or keep the show negative or whatever it may be. I looked into them. One guy had a Twitter account, but it was not an avatar. It was an avatar that wasn't him. Anyway, I don't know who these people are. But you can help the show, and I don't do this enough, and I should just do this regularly, because I genuinely don't try to care what people think, but this was brought to my attention, and I feel like we could do this as a team. So if you go over to iTunes, help us out, leave a nice comment, leave a nice review. It'll bring us up on the charts, and that's all. That's like a gift you can give to the show. What's amazing to me is we've never seen better listenership and viewership. The show is doing which means there's going to be more people listening with their opinions, but you guys could get your opinion in the mix too. Go say a nice thing over on the iTunes page, right?
Yeah, you know what? It'll make you feel good. It'll make you feel so much better than going somewhere else about something you don't like and saying something negative there. Just go to our iTunes page and say something positive, because we know you love this show.
And look, immediately we got Dave in here. We got you, Hausman, Gary Lyles. Too political. Do they listen? I think that the Brandy, I think, because here's the thing about the
wait, was this just in the last, very recently, stemming from our recent conversation?
I don't really, but that's a great question, Christy, because they just broadly say I'm too political, which is weird to me, because they don't really seem to want to say what it is that I said that they don't like. Maybe because if they said what I said that they don't like, it could out them for being a jerk, right? I don't like that Nick is always talking about how maybe there could be more representation. That is something that personally offends me. Maybe it's a COVID thing, right? Because I say masking is okay. I don't know. They just broadly say political, right? So anyway, you could counter this. Go leave a review. Thank you very much, DX Vex. Maybe they're reviewing the wrong show. Nicholas, my plant friend. Nick is our hero. I totally support Wrestling Daily every day. So, and then we have Sliceberg Slim here. Double thumbs up. Thank you very much. We can do this together, right? We're going to do this as a team. So, that's my opening salvo. That's the end of my opening salvo. Here is the show 10 minutes in. Here's the show we're going to do today. So
that was the good stuff.
That was all the just casual start to the day. Honestly, Christy, because we didn't get to do the live stream yesterday, I feel like I'm compensating. Where I'm like, I'm so happy to be able to see you and talk to the people. So, all right. Anyway, you guys are all saying such nice things here in the opinion section, the comments. That's really nice. Thank you. All right. So today's show, after the news block, we're going to hear from Scott Fishman. I was stoked when he told me who he got. He got Charmel. And that's cool. She's promoting reality or wrestling. There's a really great bit in here where she talks about advice that her own husband, Booker T, gave her at WrestleMania, which is like an interest, right? Like, I don't know why that's so intriguing to me, you know? So, anyway, Carmel's here talking with Scott. So we'll have that later on. It'll debut in video form over on the YouTube channel in about 45 minutes. And at the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive in the mailbag. We're going to talk about what your favorite show is each week. Christy already wrote in Roads to the Top, so it's going to come up. We'll talk about it at the end. By the way, King Rail, Nick, it was the Brandy comments, in my opinion. I was reading the reaction to chat as you were talking last show. Maybe there are some hardcore Brandy stands, because I feel like it's a little easy.
I think they would have said that in their review had that been it. Nick, I think there are, I understandably so, especially in our day and age, there are people who really, really want to check out. And they just want to be entertained. And I think that we're kind of beyond where we're at as humans, where we can do that. And unfortunately, every once in a while, we got to throw in a little something about what's going on in the world because it does affect pro wrestling and pro wrestlers. So listen, people, I get it. I just want to have fun too. But, it's important that we also use our platform for good.
Yes, thank you. Right. And it's a news show, people. This isn't a review show. We do review shows. They're great. They're really good. You can enjoy both or one or the other, whatever. We do a news show here. So anyway, we have Dave Hinton saying my review is going to be something like my favorite source for Roast to the Top news. Rob Humphrey, 5-star review. Be as political as you want, Hausman. I appreciate that. I try not to be, but again, it's the news, right? We got to talk the news. All right, let's get to it. I can't do this opening anymore. This has gone on way too long. Time for news. You can use news to leave a bruise. Let's talk the draft, right? Yeah. So we're going to go kind of round by round. This is what we did yesterday on the show, Christy. We'll talk about, what we feel as the rounds go by. So round one last night saw Raw pick SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch to come over from SmackDown. SmackDown then picked SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, to stay on SmackDown. Raw picked Bobby Lashley and MVP to stay on Raw, and SmackDown picked Sasha Banks to stay on SmackDown. Any thoughts from the opening first round here, Christy?
I love the idea that we knew right away they're mixing up the women. Yeah. We're getting a big shakeup here. And that's what I wanted from the draft, is just a really fresh feeling, and to see all those women get together, Becky, Charlotte, Bianca all together. What would they have to say to each other? This was a really hot way to start off night two.
Yeah, I agree. And man, these are some big gets Raw got. Like, I think, of the two brands this year in the draft, Raw really got some star power. Becky Lynch coming over here was great for them. I'm glad they're keeping Lashley around with Big E on the same brand. But over on the SmackDown side, good that Sasha's staying over there. I mean, it's a great, healthy mix. I was surprised that they had the Usos be the first pick, because, wasn't the big tease that, maybe they won't be on SmackDown? I would have waited. I would have waited a little longer just so you could see the backstage Paul Heyman stressing. I'm making calls. I'm going to put this deal away. It's a little thing, but I was just surprised they just kind of gave away the Usos things right at the top of the show.
I thought they would give that more time as well, just because of the Paul Heyman factor. But, as we know, the show kind of shakes out throughout the afternoon. And as we hear that there were a lot of changes made throughout the day.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get into that a little bit here in a bit. Round two saw Raw pick Seth Rollins to come over from SmackDown. SmackDown picked Nakamura and Rick Booge to stay on SmackDown. Raw picked United States Champion Damon Priest. He's staying on Raw, and SmackDown picked Sheamus to come over from Raw. Becky was the first pick from the first round, Seth the second. So those two staying together on the road. But again, like Raw really picking up some guns here, I thought,
Yeah, and I always wonder who had a say in all of that. Was it, are the execs saying, okay, we're going to need this guy. We want this guy. You hear that Vince is constantly making changes throughout draft time, like by the minute. So it's just so fascinating to me how these are finally locked in. And it's like, oh no, Daria or Adam are saying their name. There are no more changes. We're done now.
Well, I hate to say like Becky was maybe priority here, right? But she was picked first, like I feel like that's the one, like wherever Becky went. Seth is, I'm not saying this to knock Seth, but
no, say it, Nick, say it.
Well, Seth is not the world champion right now. Becky's the world champion, right? Like Seth is a great player. You can plug him in anywhere. Raw, SmackDown. Becky's the one I feel like that the executives are probably saying, we just want to make sure if they're going to get Roman, you can't have Roman and Becky. That's ridiculous. We at least get Becky in this situation kind of deal,
Right. And I just think it's pretty cool that in 2021, we're talking about, well, they're going to decide where Becky, the more important one right now, is going to go. And then Seth is just going to have to go with her, because I think Seth Rollins is somebody who probably would be the first one to go like, that's cool with me. She's the man right now. And yay, that's so fun.
Well, and it just kind of, it's a good fit for Seth too. Not only does he get to be with his wife, but Edge, he and Edge right now in like a top program. And they both wound up over on Raw. I think that there's a lot more you could do with those two. And so I'm glad they're going to kind of be kept around each other. I think, it's a home invasion angle this past week.
Well, yeah, and like with Lashley and Big E too, this feels like it's going to be fresh, but like they aren't abandoning things that we're invested in, which is my complaint a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So round 3 saw Raw pick AJ Styles, No Moss to stay on the show. SmackDown picked Shayna Baszler to come over from Raw. Raw picked Kevin Owens to come over from SmackDown. And SmackDown, with the first NXT pickup of the night, picked Xia Li to come over from WWE NXT. Any thoughts on the third round here? Yeah.
Yeah, Xia Li, obviously that's the name that sticks out the most to me there. I think that people are going to get very excited about her. She is a badass. There's so much they can do with telling stories with her just because of what she can do in the ring, her martial arts background. I think she's someone who's really going to shake things up, and she's going to be a fan favorite really quickly once the general audience, the mainstream, Raw and SmackDown audience gets an eye on her. She's going to be a huge superstar.
I agree. I'm all about it. Xia Li is such a talent. And you look at, just in the first 3 rounds here, half of the picks from SmackDown were women, right? Xia, Shayna, Sasha Banks. I really kind of thought that Raw was going to get, the more influx of women, but it seems to be going the other way this time around, with Charlotte moving over as an opening pick to SmackDown as well. Like the women's division, maybe it's just because I've seen better consistent booking, but I'm more heartened when I see people and things that I like going to SmackDown right now. I feel like they're going to be used very well over there.
Well, Nick, I remember you saying, I feel like in the last couple weeks that the Raw women's division wasn't looking super strong, that there wasn't a lot going on there, right?
Well, yeah, and they just took out Eva. Well, they just took out Eva and Nia Jax too. Like there's literally like openings, women, not there. I thought that there would be more women infused into that product. I don't know. So, yeah.
I think we're on the road there now.
Well, Becky Lynch is the centerpiece here now, right? You got Bianca Belair over on Raw now as well, which is a great get for them. But I just looking here, like the SmackDown women's division looking very good right now. And you kind of start to see what they're putting a focus on here. I think women's wrestlers, the Roman Reigns stuff. I like that they're keeping Nakamura, Rick Booz. They're
what do they call? They don't call him anything, right? I'm like, what is he? What is he to Shinsuke? Is there a word? Is he his opener? Is he his? He's not his tag partner, right? Like, I need the relationship defined.
I think he's his musician.
Okay,
he's there.
His opening act.
Guitar friend.
I guess either way they go together, and I like it.
Well, round 4, we got 6 rounds last night. Round 4. Saw Raw picking Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins to come over from SmackDown. SmackDown picked Eric and Ivar, the Viking Raiders. Raw got Finn Balor. And SmackDown picked Ricochet. We do have some more news about the Street Profits that I'll throw in here in just a second. But, man, Finn Balor being picked 3rd in the 4th round after main eventing as the Demon against Roman Reigns. what a mixed signal I think that sends about where you see this guy right now in your company.
Yeah, but I think he's someone that you don't have to worry about having an ego. Like, he's not going to be causing a fuss backstage. He's just ready to tell whatever story they are going to have ready for him. He very willingly went to NXT and kind of did the thing there. I don't think that Finn Balor is worried about where he's being picked in the draft.
No.
And so that means, the squeaky, if he's not being the squeaky wheel, he's definitely not going to get any grease.
It's just, he's just one of those guys that kind of fits the like AEW mold, right? And I don't know, like, do you want to be better to those guys right now to make them feel like included or heard? Or do you just, is it kind of a, we're going to just use you all we can. We're not going to keep you too hot. I look at him, I look at Zayn, I look at Kevin Owens, really interesting time for all these guys right now that like are top tier talent. That's really, I guess with Owens and Zayn, you could say that they found, moments in WWE, but it does always kind of feel like they could be bigger, used in a better way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that's very different from Finn Balor because Finn Balor has had the opportunities. He has been there, done that. And with him, it just really feels like he's not trying to main event WrestleMania anymore. He's cool putting over younger stars and working with someone behind the scenes, and that he's fulfilled in other ways in his career than having to be the one that everybody's talking about. Whereas Kevin Owens, I think, and Sami Zayn would like for everyone to be talking about them.
Well, I see King Rail here saying Viking Raiders need to be repackaged. I don't know that they need to be repackaged. They just need to be treated with like respect.
Oh, okay.
Not made to look like idiots. They did that long series of things with the
But isn't that the gimmick? Isn't that the gimmick that it's gotten a little too cheeseball? It's a little too played out at this point. What seemed very menacing when they first started and mysterious before we really got to know them just seems like a little empty now.
Well, but that's kind of the thing. Like with Raw, I feel like you get put through this prism where you kind of have to play down to kids a little bit more. And over on SmackDown, it seems obvious that Fox wants like more like adult, serious competitors, right? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So, when I see like the Viking Raiders or even Ricochet in the same round here, who are going to be leaving kind of that cartoon world of Monday Night Raw and are all of a sudden going to get treated like as athletes that have a little bit more levity. Like, I know they're capable of it. Ricochet's been, in the 24/7 picture here for a month now.
Right.
It's interesting. It's cool to think about, like a Xia Li. Like Xia Li coming to Raw is a very different thing than where she's going now in SmackDown. We're like, oh, on SmackDown, they're going to get her, right? Mm-hmm. Like, she's a very serious, hard-edged athlete. Over at Raw, I would worry. I'd be like, oh, what are they going to do with Xia Li,
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, then that brings I actually had some news here from PW Insider about the Street Profits. So the idea was that there was serious consideration in breaking them up. Now the idea would have been that Ford would move to Raw without Dawkins, but with Belair, and Dawkins would have stayed on SmackDown. Now the split talk lessened over the course of the week, and instead WWE decided to split up T-Bar and Mace. Of course, the Saturday's Talking Smack episode included T-Bar, the announcement he was staying on Raw, and SmackDown was going to get Mace.
So they just wanted to split up somebody's storyline and they were going to ruin the Street Profits over it? Is that what I'm hearing? Then they came to their senses? Okay.
What? I don't get it, where it's just like, all right. That's crazy to break up the Street Profits, but we got to break up somebody, right? Who are we breaking up?
Oh, I know.
It's like, well, just to kind of make the draft feel like, things can be pulled apart. I don't know. So, I'm glad they made the choice to keep the Street Profits together. These guys are a great unit. It feels a little early to be splitting them apart. I think that there's a lot of potential in both, obviously, but so much still to be done with them as a tag team for me, right?
Yes, agreed, 100%.
Yeah. Well, round 5, Karrion Kross, he's staying on Raw. SmackDown picked Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza to come over from Raw. That's a great fit. Raw picks Alexa Bliss to stay on Raw, and SmackDown picks Cesaro to stay on SmackDown. And where is Cesaro? What's going on with Cesaro right now?
That's a great question, and one that I was asking as well, Nick. Isn't he just someone that they know they can pull out and make a big fuss with, and all the fans will lose their minds? So maybe they're kind of keeping him quiet right now so that he can make a big splash now that he's been drafted.
Yeah, maybe. And Karrion Kross too. This guy was NXT champion, top of the world 2 months ago. 2 months ago. And now first round, 5th round pick. A lot of questions around it. The ones that grabbed me the most here was Carrillo and Garza. Them on SmackDown. they're going to really shine, I feel like, over there. I'm a little surprised they moved the Mysterios over to Raw, just because SmackDown has traditionally always done a great job of catering to that Latin American audience. And, I could see all four of these guys working really well together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that SmackDown tag team division was just getting a little too beefy there, a little too beefed up. They needed somebody had to go to Raw, right?
I guess
it makes me feels like SmackDown is the priority, right?
But less so than previous drafts. Like I am like you got Edge, Rollins, Becky, Big E. I mean, Raw has some star power now, more than it did pre-draft, that's for sure. Well, lastly here on TV, and we do have some more picks from Raw Talk, but the 6th round saw Raw picking Carmella to come over from SmackDown. SmackDown picked Ridge Holland to come up from NXT. Raw picked Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, and the final televised pick, SmackDown choosing to keep Sami Zayn on the show. Well, at least Sami Zayn got a draft pick and was not in the grab bag of people from Raw Talk. Any thoughts on the last round here, Christy?
It was really cute to hear Corey Graves geek out that Carmella was coming over to Raw. And also, because we always just we want to know about that stuff too. It's like, are they being kept together as a couple as well? I don't know. It's that juicy stuff, Nick. Love that. Big congratulations to Ridge Holland. And this Gable Steveson thing, that's for the mainstream media pickup, right?
I would think so. This guy can't have had more than a cup of coffee's worth of training at this point. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm horribly wrong, but I was also a little surprised they put him in this, Yeah.
And if this was anything else but trying to make him into a WWE superstar, if you're trying to make him into the top of any other kind of industry, I'd be concerned. But WWE can absolutely, manufacture out a superstar in a short period of time. And if they think they can make him into what they need him to be on TV, then wow. I mean, I'm into it. I'm intrigued. You got me.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, Gable Steveson. I'm interested to see if they put him in the ring super early. I see a write-in here from Antonio Garcia saying he would fit well with Chad Gable and Otis in their stable until he's ready.
That's a good idea.
Even if it doesn't look like he's going to NXT, but even like a Diamond Mine type group, like I think the idea of hiding him behind a couple other guys that can wrestle, that like he hangs out with, that he can spend time on the road with, maybe do some house shows with, would be a good way to integrate him. But we're talking about a guy who's still in school. Like he went back for his senior.
Right.
He's not done. Yeah. Like I just like time wise, like, I don't know what's going to happen because this guy's in his senior year. He won the Olympic gold at 22. I think he's going to go back and defend his NCAA title. And he has more amateur wrestling still to do. And he's also going to be a Raw superstar. My senior year, actually, I dropped out. I didn't make it to my senior year. But, like, that's a lot. That's a lot for one person to be doing. I will be interested to see how they balance all that.
It is. Again, I hope they're paying whoever's doing his homework really well.
Mm-hmm. I like Brian Bills. He can play the Hook role. Everybody loves Hook.
Oh, yeah.
Standing there looking tough. I chew gum. I was
spot on, Nick.
Thank you. Ridge Holland. I was surprised by Ridge because him and Pete Dunne are just such a great act. Like,
yeah, but we don't really know what's going on with Pete right now, right? Or did he just resign?
He did resign.
I feel like maybe this isn't okay. Well, this is maybe an indication of what he asked for, that the plans for him are to just highlight Pete Dunne, and not to have Ridge Holland hanging around.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Ridge is like the prototype of what Vince want wrestlers to look like, big, beefy dude. I'm intrigued to see he's a really talented guy. I'm intrigued to see what he does on SmackDown, but I really thought there was more to do with him and Pete. And I guess I'll kind of throw in here just while we're throwing random bits in. PW Insider saying there'd been more talk about using Walter beyond the NXT UK brand as of late, which is a hard sell because Walter's outspokenly said, like, I like living in Germany. I have a school there. I don't really want to come to the States. But the leader of Imperium was said to be in the States this past weekend, leading to speculation he could possibly be drafted. He was not. TalkSport saying, by the way, that for the first time in almost 18 months, NXT UK is going to have fans in attendance at their tapings at the BT Studios starting Thursday, October 14th, which is very soon here. It's already a brand on the ropes. Like the
Mhm.
NXT UK thing, it's lost so much buzz. It's not really pushed heavily by WWE.
Right.
I mean, you take out a Walter, it's going to really be a hard brand.
Yeah, but I'm wondering about what's going on here. Karrion Cross, there's been so much ever since he was brought up from NXT, there's been so much narrative about him, right? Every single week we're talking about how he's used. Did he win or lose? How does he feel about it? What do we think about it? And I'm wondering if they're going to start to look at really building someone in NXT or NXT UK as a bad thing. Like if they think they've got gold in Walter, they don't want him to stick around at NXT UK and for you to get used to that and like that and to get some ideas about how you would want him to come up eventually and what you really think of him and how he's best used. So maybe it's not going to be up to Walter. Maybe if he's that good, they're going to say, we don't want the same thing to happen. We're not giving you any more time there. You got to come up now so there's not all the hullabaloo.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal's like. I don't know. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's very upfront. I know he's very upfront when it comes to his business dealings. But with Pete Dunne too, we talk about Ridge being moved over to SmackDown here. Pete's a great part of the NXT brand right now. But again, there's it's him, Walter. You got Davey Boy Smith Jr. under contract right now. Like if they're going to be relaunching in front of fans, I could see Davey there. I mean, there's a couple guys you could put into that mix, on top of Ilya Dragunov and, Kid A that they've got in there right now to really flush that thing out and put another focus on. I think it's a good brand. I know Shawn Michaels has been very, very involved with it for a long time. It just doesn't, there's not a spark there. I don't know what it is that the NXT UK just hasn't, grabbed people, So.
Well, it seems like if they were going to kind of wash their hands of it, it would have been a great time to do that in the last year and a half or so. So they must have some faith in it or some plans for NXT UK, and especially if they can be out in front of fans again. We know that not only does that ignite, the talent and the fans to be excited about the show again, but also it gets the WWE brass kind of excited again. So maybe NXT UK will get some attention now that they've got fans back in the seats.
Well, like I said, Sami Zayn was the final on-screen pick, which I'm sure is going to give him lots to yell about, which is always fun. But there were more picks on Raw Talk after the show, the majority of them for Raw. So Raw picked Dana Brooke. She's staying on Raw. They also got Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode from SmackDown. Jackson Riker, got to keep him. He's on Raw. Veer, he's going to stay on Raw. Liv Morgan coming over to Raw from SmackDown. Mia Yim staying on Raw, though I did not know she was on Raw. Tamina Snuka, she's coming over to Raw from SmackDown. Tegan Nox also coming to Raw from SmackDown. Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, they're gonna stay on Raw with Bobby Lashley, obviously. And The Miz, I guess, is gonna, as soon as he is done Dancing with the Stars, return to WWE.
We hope no time soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I gotta watch. I didn't catch last night's episode yet because I was doing the draft party.
I haven't yet either, but I support it.
Oh, are you watching Dancing with the Stars this season?
No. No, again, I support my celebs that I'll call in. When Nikki was on, I was calling in all night long.
Because I have thoughts about this season of Dancing with the Stars. I have thoughts on everything. But there's one of the old guy host, Lynn. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes. Len Goodman, I think his name is. He
must a wrestler must have killed his family or something because he hates Miz. He's really mean to Miz.
I would bet that Miz was doing his usual Miz stuff and maybe just rubbed Len the wrong way. If you don't get the Miz, I can see how that could happen. Len is very uptight. Is he British or some crap? I could see how that would happen. Ooh, Miz is going to have to win him over.
I do. I think Lynn has preconceived ideas about pro wrestling and pro wrestlers and walked in wanting to boo for the Miz. He only said one thing the first week. He was like, "You were better than I expected." That was it. And then you were just kind of like, okay, well, that's wow. And then the next week, Miz did really well. Lynn had something else. I forget exactly. He said it was really snide. But the other judges, the three judges gave Miz 7s. Lynn gave him a 5. And I was like, that man hates you.
Oh, or could it have something to do with Nikki Bella? Maybe he couldn't judge the season Nikki Bella was on. He didn't like her or I can't even think of her baby daddy's name right now, which is terrible.
Artem.
Yeah, maybe he's got beef with Artem. You just never know. People are so petty.
I did wonder if like he's like we had one, we brought a wrestler in, she married off one of the dancers, and now we got this whole carnival around here right now.
Yes. That
man.
could be it. Maybe he's old school. He doesn't think that there's any room for reality TV and dancing.
Yeah. I love X Pizza Wings. Lynn is objective and the best judge. How dare you, Nicholas Wolfgang?
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that the Wrestling Inc. viewers today are also tuned into Dancing with the Stars. That's cool.
Dave in, Miz constantly getting hazed in every industry. Yeah, right.
Yes.
You can't change with the other dancers. You got to change in the hallway, Miz.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just something about him that people think has to be taken down a notch.
Oh, Samantha is saying, Lynn said you are exactly the way I expected you to be.
Oh, that is like an ouchie burn. Wow.
There's a look that Lynn gives Miz where he's like, I could light you on fire with my eyes and my mind right now, and I would lose no sleep over that.
All right. Well, now I'm going to be tuning in addition to calling in because I got to see this.
Yeah. All right. So also on top, on top of all these picks, 5 hours worth of picks, there are still undrafted wrestlers that are, I guess, free agents. I don't know how this exists, but we have free agents, and some of them are really notable. Asuka, Bayley, Brock Lesnar, Elias, Eva Marie, Grand Metalik, John Cena, Lacey Evans, Lindsay Dorado, Shane McMahon, Slapjack, a.k.a. Shane Thorne, Titus O'Neil, and The Undertaker. And by the way, these are all listed wrestlers on the WWE roster page that did not go drafted. Who's going to draft the Undertaker? The man's retired, right? He's getting drunk at weddings and throwing chops. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I haven't, but I'm going to now.
Oh, it's so good. He's lit. Like, you want me to chop you? All right. You come here. I hit you. He does he levels this dude with an overhand chop. It is disgusting and awesome. But anyway,
but I like the idea that we have these big names that are still up in the air because these are the question marks now. They can show up anytime, anywhere, out of nowhere. I love that.
But like, what are the rules? Like, do you have a finite amount of people you can draft?
Nick. Why this are believability you have right here? Just push it away. You got to suspend it. Push it a little higher. It's got to be suspended.
Why doesn't, like, who doesn't want to draft John Cena? Like, what? Who doesn't want to draft Brock Lesnar? Right? Like,
well, no, of course they both want him, but they want them on days when they can be scheduled to appear, so as to also cause a spike in ratings and not just a great draft pick.
What's going on with Elias? Like he actually killed himself, I guess. Like he's not around anymore.
Yeah, but again, there's intrigue there, and they can't blow their whole load this week. You know what I mean? We got the whole rest of this season, and then we'll be on the road to WrestleMania. That's months long. There's a lot that this is kind of that time when things need to start brewing and when the question marks pop up and begin to get addressed. And they're going to be Nick, you were going to hear the phrase road to WrestleMania sometime in the next month or two. I guarantee you. It's like Christmas. It's earlier every year.
You mispronounced it. It's roads to WrestleMania, Christy.
Good one.
Brandy, main event strapper. So, I mean, of the people here that's like asking questions, Eva Marie, I read the report that Eva Marie we did it yesterday, the report where she was backstage and she was wearing a sling to sell the Shayna Baszler attack. Okay. And like, I actually been largely I think Eva Marie is over-delivered in my opinion. Like, I was a little coy on the whole thing with Doudrop, but like even over time when they realize like this is only going to work if Doudrop quickly gets one over on Eva because they just can't have this, fat shaming by a popular girl. That's why the Facebook people are on trial today up on Congress. Didn't mean to be too political.
Because Eva and Doudrop?
Well, it's the same thing, right? You're showing these girls these images and they hate themselves. You make them, feel bad and anything. So anyway.
There you go, getting political, Nick.
Sorry, yeah, right. We're exposing children to anorexia is, I guess, I shouldn't say anything about that. But with Eva Marie, like Eva Marie has over-delivered for me, right? Like I don't think she's looked like awful in the ring. Certainly hasn't been like on the level of a Charlotte, but she gets a reaction. She's certainly a good second to, like, I think anybody you compare her with. You know, she's sitting there, she's selling her arm in the back. And I don't know, like, if you're in a wrestling locker room and you're selling an injury that everyone knows is a work, like, that's a little weird to me. But, you know, she's trying really hard. I don't understand why she kind of got lost in the shuffle here. You know, I don't get what happened.
I mean, as far as it's not like she's trying to work the boys. You know, I've seen this happen many, many a time. You know, so-and-so NXT superstar, make sure they're wearing their sling, getting out of the car at the PC, even though nobody's around, just to make sure. I mean, they do these kinds of things, and it shows dedication. And, you know, for her main thing that she's been able to do well, like you're saying, you're right, is make everyone talk about her. And she's apparently been able to do that well with the people who are making decisions in the back too. You know, you don't think they noticed that she was rocking her sling backstage? I'm sure they were. And her value, Eva Marie's value, is always going to also include that she's getting these mainstream movie and TV roles. She's an actress. She's signed with The Rock's management company. That's a level of exposure that other women on the roster are not being relayed the opportunities to also do right now. I have to be careful how I said that. Not that they aren't doing it. They aren't being allotted that opportunity to be able to do that. So Eva is going to be very valuable to them in ways that the other women aren't. So even though she goes undrafted here, my guess is that they've got something big in store for her. Perhaps it has something to do with Alexa Bliss's return and how she is going to need a new kind of vibe.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's all fair. I feel kind of bad speculating because, like, I have a lot of thoughts about what could be happening, you know, because you bring up how she's like represented and has all these opportunities. There's a lot of exit interviews from talent that are like, yeah, the fact I had a lot of clout outside of the company did not work well for me, you know? And so, like,
yeah, but were any of the rest of them signed with The Rock's management company? That makes it a whole different thing in my book. Also, they knew darn well everything Eva, you know, she's got stuff scheduled for the next couple of years is my guess. So when they re-signed her, they knew everything that she's doing. And again, that's value to them. I understand what you're saying, but when somebody has already gone and come back, I think Eva Marie has kind of said, hey guys, I do need you. And they love that.
Yeah.
They love that.
I don't know. Lastly, here from the draft, before we get into some matches that were set up during the draft for Crown Jewel, PW Insider saying the original plan for Friday's draft night one edition of SmackDown was to have Bobby Lashley be the number one draft pick for the Raw brand. The idea behind Lashley as the number one Raw pick was that fans would have to tune into Raw to see where Big E ended up, especially after the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods were drafted to SmackDown. The cliffhanger idea was dropped over the course of the day this past Friday, with Big E replacing Lashley as the top draft pick for the Red brand. I'm a little confused exactly what this report is saying. But they had their cliffhanger, the Usos. They kind of did the same thing, and then they just sewed it up. First pick, boom, done.
Right. And it seems that as the show evolved, it ended up becoming more about the women and opening with addressing that they decided that was the hotter angle. And again, this just lends us to think, you know, how much things are changing every minute of every day throughout a draft like this.
I thought those women looked like big stars to open the show last night.
Oh my God, Nick. Huge. That's just it. It's not just that they are amazing in-ring performers. They look the part. They have the charisma. They have the confidence. None of them they've always been so great on the mic, both Becky, Charlotte. But they've still never been better. Everything they said to each other was what I would have wanted to hear without knowing that that's what I wanted to hear. And then you throw Bianca in the mix too, and she is holding her own with Charlotte Flair and the man. I mean, it's no wonder that they opened the show.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that opener. I really kind of largely enjoyed Raw. And again, I was at a bar with a bunch of screaming wrestling fans, right? And we all had merch and our draft beers and stuff. But like, I don't know, like it kind of flew by to me this year. I think the draft seemed fine this year. If they do it just once a year and it means something, you know, the draft can be great. So we also got some new matches for Crown Jewel. I'll read all three off, then we can talk about it. Drew McIntyre versus Big E. That's set. Raw saw SmackDown superstar McIntyre issue challenge to Big E for the title. Ended up defeating Ziggler. The two tagged, wound up defeating Ziggler and Rude in tag action later on. And then Big E agreed to the match at Crown Jewel. Bobby Lashley, he's going to take on Goldberg in a no-holds-barred match, obviously stemming from the heinous attack that Lashley gave Goldberg's son Gage. at SummerSlam. And Randy Orton and Riddle, they're going to defend the Raw tag titles against AJ and Omos. Of course, it's recently reported that Randy Orton's out with some kind of, something where he couldn't compete, but I guess WWE thinks he'll be good to go by then. Any thoughts here? I have a couple before.
Yeah, I loved how they set up Drew McIntyre versus. Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Drew McIntyre versus Big E. Yeah, I loved how they set that up with the tag match because it just seemed, again, when we're suspending our believability, it seemed super believable to me that that's how that would play out, right? That he'd be like, yes, you helped me win tonight. You have earned your opportunity. Like, that's the kind of champion that we always thought Big E would be. And that's the kind of champion he's being. Again, it was just more of, as we're talking about how much we actually enjoyed Raw, which doesn't always happen. It was just more good stuff. It made sense. It made me want to keep watching. It made me interested for the future.
Well, and the thing here with the Drew McIntyre Big E situation, it's interesting. And much like Brock and Roman is you're going into these big title matches here with wrestlers that aren't on the same brands. And of course, that gets me thinking, right? Brock Lesnar, of course, is a free agent, but it would be nothing to have him beat Roman Reigns for that title and then get signed to Raw. Like, the opening is there, that makes me worry that we're going to see both the titles switch hands at Crown Jewel, where things just seem to happen, that you could see Brock defeating Roman Reigns because the Saudis want that big moment, and this is about as big a moment as you could get, is Roman dropping that title. So Brock takes that title off to Raw. And does that mean Drew McIntyre beats Big E, takes that title to SmackDown to set up the program with Roman Reigns, right? Which they've already teased. And that would give Big E a very short title reign, which is why when I think it, then I say it out loud, I'm like, I really hope that's not going to happen, but obviously it's a possibility,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It seems like something that they would do, right? Especially a short title reign for Big E after all this hoopla. It almost made me sad because it was like, oh, is that what's going to happen, Nick? Yeah.
The other route here is we see Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre lose at Crown Jewel, which I guess is plausible, but like, they love to deliver these big things at Crown Jewel, and I don't know, Christy. I'm a little coy about it.
When you hear about the tens of millions of dollars that they bring in on these events, and so you kind of acknowledge how important it is that they give a big, huge show and make a lot of stuff happen that's going to make people want to come out again. Yeah, I think you're making a lot of good points.
Does
it make me happy, Nick?
No, it's something I feel like I need to point out. The Observer saying that in response to a bodyslam.net report last week saying the AEW EVPs were EVPs, quote, in name only, the Observer now saying that the roles of the higher-ups in AEW have remained unchanged since December of 2019. AEW President Tony Khan did take more control of booking since then, but nobody in AEW has lost any creative power. I mean, let's take a pause here for a second, Christy. Does Tony Khan have more creative power? Of course. Has anybody lost it, though? No, right?
Did someone get a little hot under the collar about a report that was put out a week ago that they had lost power? Oh, it's plausible, Nick.
So Tony Khan is apparently in charge of booking the matches and segments, tells the talent what they're involved in and where their direction is going, including the AEW EVPs and other top stars like Jericho, Moxley, Punk, and Danielson. However, those top stars are still allowed input. Well, that's nice. Allowed input into their angles and matches, and they're even allowed their own creative input in their promos as well. Well, that's nice. That doesn't seem like you're having your power reined in, right? So, right? Anyway.
No, the wrestlers make it sound like when they talk about what goes on behind the scenes at AEW, the wrestlers kind of make it sound like they're all doing all their own stuff anyway. Like they're working with agents, but everyone kind of is like, oh yeah, I have my freedom and I say what I want and I do what I want in the ring. So my guess is that really what Tony Khan does, a lot of his job is appeasing all the egos and making everybody think that they're in charge. Like that's probably Tony Khan's number one thing he's doing throughout the day. And part of that job was to make sure that this new report, Nick, that you're saying today gets out there that none of those guys lost any power. Also, this report made me acknowledge that nobody's questioning Tony Khan anymore. Tony Khan has not worked in the world of professional wrestling for very long. It's not like he grew up in this world. It's not like he was a TV writer. And I remember when AEW first started and the news came around that, oh, Tony is booking, oh, Tony is creative. I was like, why? Why? Why does he have the qualifications to do that? Where's his resume? He decided he was the best person he could hire to do that. But apparently he did. Things have been going smashingly, as we see in the ratings. So he's pulling it off. Whoever is in charge behind the scenes there is doing a fine job. And my guess is that it's a little bit of everybody, and that all that these reports really are is that whole ego checking thing, which is probably just their biggest problem behind the scenes.
I do think I think he has taken a lot more. I mean, I think as time has gone on, because you say you're trying to deal with these egos and everything like that, he's kind of out of necessity taking on all that more creative, because if you have too many people with their own motivations in your ear trying to pull your creative one way or another, at a certain point it's going to break, and you're going to have to just kind of take the ball and run with it, for better or worse down the field. That's a football thing. And so, I think Tony just kind of out of necessity, while dealing with all of these kind of factors that you brought up there, has said it's just going to be easier and better for me to just take it all on myself. As the head booker, he decides who wins and loses. Talent have the creative input to fill in the details of Khan's vision. An example from last episode of Rampage, where Khan could tell Danielson and Jackson to go out there for 15, 16 minutes, and it's up to them to do what they want, right? This whole report.
So he's hired talent that he can trust and that he knows he can say, go out there and do what you do.
But the bottom line is, I think you hit the nail on the head, Christy. This is a report that was done to do one thing and one thing only, which is counter Bodyslam.net's Cassie Hayes report. And it is breathtaking how in one sentence you can both say that Tony Khan has taken on more creative power, but nobody else has lost any creative power, because I just don't like, how scales work, right? You take some beans out of one side, you put it in the other, the scales start, you can't take the beans out and then they stay there and the beans go over here. The beans are moving around, Christy. We got some bean movement. So.
We do. This is the kind of silliness that I'm most interested in, Nick. And this is why I love the idea that there's cameras backstage now and that we might see some of that stuff unfold.
Lana was at the East Coast autograph auctions alongside Sammy Guevara, the new TNT champion. They had a little back and forth. And then a fan asked her if she was going to join AEW. She said, well, I'm going to tell you, stay tuned. I can't give everything away. I can't give all the hot tea right now. So obviously leaving the door open for joining AEW at some point alongside Miro.
Yeah, but this almost made me disappointed because I've been waiting for that to happen. I will be excited when that happens because, as Lana and Rusev, they were split up too soon. And I just think that there's a lot that they can accomplish together at AEW. That's why I'm excited for it. And her response seemed so not thought out, not leading anywhere. Like it was very just off the cuff, teasy, not give an answer, whereas I think if she was really gearing up to go there and starting to write, a story for herself and her husband in her head, that's not what she would have said, because she is just really, really good at that kind of stuff. So this made me feel like there's no plans for her to go right now. And I know she has so much other stuff going on. Her on the Surreal Life is going to be huge. I'm going to be really excited when we see her on AEW too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's going to happen in the immediacy. I think Miro's off doing his own thing. Great giant man on its own. But yeah, she's got projects coming up down the road, maybe. But I don't think right now. I think I kind of got the same vibe. It was kind of a,
Yeah. But big up to that fan for asking. We love those people.
All right. Lastly, here before we get to Charmel, and then we'll quickly dive into the mailbag. I'm going to condense the mailbag stuff down into something that's much shorter than what I've written. Fightful saying Tessa Blanchard scheduled to work for a planned relaunch of WoW Women of Wrestling at a press conference to announce the WoW return is scheduled for tonight. Word is that a roster is not. Tomorrow night. Word is that a roster is not in place yet, and the relaunch won't occur immediately, but it is in the works. No word on if Tessa is actually signed. She is set to be involved. LA Lakers owner Jeannie Buss attached to the WoW project, as she technically still owns the promotion. Several former WoW talents have not heard of the relaunch and have not been contacted, and some former WoW talents have not heard from WoW creator David McLean since last year, when they were emailed and asked to not post in regards to controversies of bullying allegations surrounding Blanchard. The WoW relaunch itself has been known among some within women's wrestling circles for a few months now, as several names have been contacted to work the project, but none ended up agreeing to be a part of the roster outside of Blanchard. This sounds like a dumpster fire.
It does sound like something that we're going to get more details about in the future. But hey, listen, it's cut and dried. It's wrestling just like everything else. Take the idea that it's women out of it, and maybe we won't feel so tense about it. WoW has their star. They've had her. They've built around her before. She was doing a lot behind the scenes there. She must have great relationships with people who are really at the top there. I'm talking about Tessa. And she's obviously the huge star they're going to build their promotion around. I don't think anyone would fault that. I couldn't honestly tell you anyone else that they had on their roster in the past. They've had a lot of big name women there. But as far as WoW goes, WoW is Tessa Blanchard, and it sounds like they're going to continue to put their eggs in her basket. She's not doing anything else, or she hasn't signed anywhere else yet. This isn't a surprise. Perhaps there'll be some drama that comes out of it yet. But we got conversations about this kind of stuff going on all over the place. Just because it's a female and we're talking about bullying doesn't make it much different than we're talking about, male talent, sexual assault, and that kind of a thing. These are things that need to work themselves out. And it sounds like we may be seeing Tessa back for the first time, and it'll be with WoW.
All right, Christy. Well, thank you for talking the news today. Up top, thank you to Charmel for taking the time to talk to Scott. And thank you all so much for tuning in today. What a lively comment section it was today. You're all wonderful. Take your comments, copy paste them over onto our iTunes page. It would be great. I know there's a lot of people listening and watching, and if you just did that, it would be awesome this week. So thank you very much. All right, let's get to the mailbag at Wink Daily. That's the account to follow. WINC Daily. Are we at 1,300? We're at 1295. We lost a follower. That's no good. Oh. So come follow us. We're 5 away from 1,300. My favorite number. And you could really just put the cherry on the cake that has been this Tuesday. The question of the day, what's your favorite weekly pro wrestling show at the moment? Is it SmackDown, Dynamite, or Dark Side of the Ring? This stems from a bunch of viewership numbers from Showbuzz Daily. I'll condense it down. SmackDown, #1 on Friday night, 18 to 49 demo. Second week in a row they've done that. Rampage did its lowest audience and lowest key demo rating ever so far for the show, which featured Bryan Danielson taking on Nick Jackson. It also had Orange Cassidy and Jack Gallagher. Not Jack Gallagher. It's Jack Evans. That was like the highest rated part of the show. And Dark Side of the Ring also saw their lowest rating ever for the Onita FMW episode, 126,000 viewers, down 42.8 from the key demo the week before. So real quick, before we dive into the question here, Christy, anything you want to take away from these viewership numbers?
Not surprising that Dark Side of the Ring and Rampage were both down. Rampage has such momentum, and they come and go, and they're going to have big things. It's always going to feel like the B show until those two make their moves to their different networks and all that stuff. So I think we're going to continue to get kind of erratic ratings from Rampage. And Dark Side of the Ring, it made such a huge splash. Is it that they've put focus on now all these other spinoffs and stuff? What's going on with Dark Side of the Ring that they can't harness the amount of viewers that they did before? Is it the topics? Is it some fallout from the last few weeks of episodes? I don't know what it is, but I think they can definitely get people back with a big one. And I think that's coming yet this season. They've got some things they're going to talk about yet. I know there's a Luna episode that should be big. And so I hope that they redeem themselves. And Raw and SmackDown, things are looking good on the draft. Those are just going to keep going. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Agreed. And yeah, I just think it's a topics driven show. I think if the topic that they do an episode, it gets buzz and a bunch of people talk about it, then it's going to do. If it's an episode that like less people know about, it just doesn't get like a natural viral buzz. And like the Onita episode just, didn't. So we had over 250 votes here, 65.3 AEW Dynamite, 27.3 SmackDown, 5.4 Dark Side of the Ring, and then 2.1 for everything else. I'm not going to read any comments because we're out of time, but Christy did say Rose the top. Ugh. I guess I'll check it again. I'll give it another shot tomorrow night.
I know we're just one episode in, but I got high hopes, Nick.
So my conversation, or Scott's conversation with Charmel, is debuting in 60 seconds. Go check it out on the Wrestling YouTube channel. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be joined by Brian Wool. We're going to have a double dose of Court Bauer. Raj Giri's interviewing Court this afternoon. We'll have that on the show. And also MLW is doing a media call tomorrow right after we finish recording. So I'm going to ask a couple questions. We'll include that on the call on the show tomorrow as well. So a lot of Court Bauer, a lot of MLW talk tomorrow with Brian Wool. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com or all the socials. Of course, check out the Wrestling Inc. podcast at night after the big shows, including tonight after NXT. Christy, what do you want to put over here to wrap up the show today?
Yes, if you were confused by the fan sign last night on Raw, did Erica Jane? No, I have all the information that you need on my YouTube channel at Christy Reports. Check it out and hit me up anytime, guys.
Wow.
Bringing you that reality TV scoop.
Wow. All right. What a tease there. All right. I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.